So we're back here talking about season highlights of Vale, and I might have lost all my prior things because I don't know how to work this on off recording button. But anyways, guys, here's the story. Okay, they're painting a great picture about what's going on, and the fact is that what I challenge you guys to do is just kind of ask people, hey, what are you talking about? Okay, so your season pass sales increased 20% in units versus prior year. So what does that mean? That doesn't necessarily mean in dollars. They may have been able to, maybe this program here is a rather small program and they just half the price. They just lop the price up. Now, I think that across the board in this deck, they were saying they lowered prices 20%. So lowering prices 20%, you would imagine that, hey, supply and demand is what it is. You know for a fact they're going to increase their sales level quantity wise. And the question is that during the pandemic, is this something that actually increased the number of sales as well over the prior year? Because if it wasn't in existence prior year, then that would be something that I'd be really kind of looking at. And then they're looking at visitation. Okay, visitation's down only 8%, with visitation improving since January. So this is January 2021. Okay, so what does it mean, visitation? Is that visitation to ski? Or is that visitation throughout the whole season where people, I would think that people wanted to do wilderness things, and maybe each one of these ski resorts have trails that people go snowshoeing on or hiking on that would probably be for free. You just park your car, because there's a lot of massive ski resorts in the New Jersey area where I live, like one. And it's not it's like a big hill, probably not even a big hill to people out in Colorado. But you know what I'm saying? In the summertime, they have hiking trails that maybe it costs $5 to park, and that's it. Okay, so the bottom line is here is that we're seeing, some sunny day there. Then they're saying, okay, hey, our resort right across the border in Canada was hit pretty hard because all the U.S. people couldn't travel into Canada, and so yeah, that's kind of like that wasn't a positive comment. Okay, then they look at ancillary, and what I'm taking out of this, when you hear that word ancillary, is what other business do they do? Okay, so we've talked about seasonality in many industries, but this is probably a classic one, is what do they do off season? Okay, so what you want to do off season is you want to host events. What you want to do off season is have biking trails and hiking trails. What you want to do off season is make sure you have a swim park and all this other stuff. Something to diversify and supplement the income while your main bread and butter is skiing during the winter months. Okay, so this is kind of something that we are looking at, and they're anticipating in 22 the ancillary revenue to come back. Now, again, one of the things I would say to you is that here it is, April 2021, in the United States. I think honestly, I can see even in New Jersey, which is I would characterize them as being a very conservative state regarding COVID-19. Is that they're loosening it up. Everybody's loosening up, and then still in the news media, you hear India's blowing up and Brazil are blowing up with new amounts of COVID-19. Now, in the United States, I think that we're at about 40 to 50% of at least people who've gotten one shot. So maybe it's even in the biggest mess that you have in terms of a rollout of the vaccine, we still are making great progress compared to the rest of the world. And then they focus on cost here, the bottom one. And that cost is definitively going to be a function of, okay, labor, okay, and cutting back and closing units in their big ski lodges and stuff like that. At the end of the day, okay, it does come down to cost. And when we look to reduce cost, what we also do is we look to increase technology, because those two things right now are hugely important. But this is actually a clip from their investors webpage, right? And there's 2 or 3 other clips that I have to say that I thought was pretty interesting. But this clip here is Pete and Bully Finance's, not necessarily warning, but to understand when times are the grayest at these firms, okay, the firms will always present a sunny day. And this really here doesn't represent too bad of a deal based upon the fact that when we look at some of the other slides, you'll be able to see that it's a pretty dark day for this corporation. Now, here's where they're talking about managing their cost. And, for me, I would look at this, and I'm going to blow this up to make it bigger so I can see it. Okay, so for me, and that didn't work, by the way, guys. Okay, I'm looking at the graphic right here. Let's not even go into the words. I like the pictures. Pictures say 1,000 words. Here's 2Q20 through 2Q21. Okay, so what they're saying here is they're saying that at the end of the day, their lift revenue is down 11%. Now, 11% period over period is pretty significant for an outdoor sport. And to be very honest with you, anybody who follows the game of golf knows that the game of golf is dying, because you can see that in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, a bunch of rich guys would get out there and play golf, and then Saturday morning you'd have different leagues playing and stuff like that. And it was a thing to do. Now no one cares about golf, and Tiger Woods is irrelevant. There's no deep dark enemy on the golf tour. There's no reason to watch golf, and you can actually see a lot of these golf courses and country clubs are actually closing, and they're building housing developments on it. So the game of golf is going down. Now, even 11% year over year, this is pretty significant. So, of course, this is a systemic risk event. The question is that if there's other large ski corporations, and this might be the biggest one, I should really Google it to find out the largest ski corporations. Obviously, this is a huge one because they own a lot of the well-known name ski resorts. The question is, are they holding their own versus other ski resorts? Now, they've only lost 11% of their lift revenue, but if you look at some of this other stuff, and this is the ancillary revenue, it's down 42%. So this might imply to me that skiers overall are a pretty hardcore bunch. They're still going to ski. Now, in my world of being someone who's been on skis officially one time, is that you're out there and you're not skiing within 6 feet of each other. Yes, you're probably sitting on a ski lift as you're going up in the air, but maybe these ski resorts could put one person on a lift, or if there's a super double wide one, triple wide one, they would have people on the end and no one in the middle. At the end of the day, I bet you could go skiing without interfering too much with other people. But it's the ancillary stuff. Are you going to go sit in the bar at the end of the run and sit with all your friends and have beer and pizza and dinner and stuff like that? Probably not. Are you going to go to the ski resort for a convention? Probably not. So all this other revenue really went down quite a bit. And it says here, second quarter revenue declined $240 million versus prior year. Now, they don't work on an annual basis, obviously, as do they're obviously not on a 12/31 or 1/31 1/1 to 12/31 calendar if this is already their 2Q reporting. So they might be on an annual cycle, September through September. But what we're doing here is then you start looking at stuff and this is where I would kind of be able to bring out ideas and immediately just say, hey, look, I think you're trying to give us some kind of line of stuff. Significant cost reductions associated with contingency planning, given uncertain demand outlook. That's a fully loaded sentence. What the hell does it mean? Seriously. And this is what I would like to ask these people. You got to be kidding me that a regular investor on the street is going to know what that means. Mixed benefits a strong performance in high flow through lift revenue relative to ancillary lines of business. Guys, what are you telling me? What is this? This is nonsense. Okay, go forward cost discipline balanced with focused cost structure reinvestments to support demand recovery. This tells me that they're going to whack people and increase technology. And I know that there's another deck in here with these. Oh, one of the things that Vail is doing is they're doing everything techie, right? And so if you want to make a hotel reservation, you want to rent a cabin, you can do it online. They're really reducing a lot of that core support, which I expect should happen. But at a certain point in time, I kind of like to talk to people just to have that accountability. Okay. So this is real life. This is Vail. And here, I would say to you, is this idiosyncratic? Is this firm specific? Or is this systemic, which is a market event? Most of this is a market event. Now, if we're looking at skiing as if it were golf, which is an elitist kind of event, okay, for people in the wintertime, okay, whereas golf might be a spring and summertime event for the so-called elites, maybe ski resorts are on their way down as well. I think they probably are. That's why well, again, they're trying to diversify, making casinos. So here is Vail's own commentary about maximizing shareholder value. Okay. So again, and me and Manny, we've introduced this a couple of times already, but the focus in on cash. Cash is king. And so what we have to do is we have to make sure that we have the cash to withstand the wherewithal. Because ski resorts, how much different are they from hotels in New York City? Hotels in New York City are fundamentally like in Broadway area. It's tourism, right? It could be tourism, it could be business, but those are the big core things. Okay. So no one's going to New York City to go visit their family, right? So you have that. Whereas out in the middle of the countryside, someplace, you might go to the hotel and get something because you're going to visit your family who lives a couple miles away. But cash is king. So do these ski resorts have the cash to withstand having their income cut so significantly? And then so what we do is we look at here and they're saying, well, we have disciplined capital reinvestment. What does that mean? Ongoing maintenance with select growth of investments, recovery, return to historic levels with reinvestment in high ROI, return on investment, growth capital. You know what? I did say that we would focus in on risk. If this was a bank, I would probably rip into this comment here. So think about this. Let's just reread this for 1 second, guys. Because I'm going through this. So this is the second time, but I'm learning myself. Recovery return. Okay, recovery. The return to historical levels within reinvestment in high ROI growth capital. So when we do that, that tells me that they're going out onto the risk curve. You cannot invest in high return on investment projects without assuming greater amounts of risk. There's no free lunch in the market. So what are they going in for? What high return investment are they going in for that they're going to turn around and say, oh, wow, in a year or two, we're going to recoup all of our investment? I don't know what they're going to do. Okay. Flexible capital structure. So they're going to be flexible. Okay. They're focusing on low cost of debt. Low cost of debt to grow and be stable. Now that means to say that they must be, or they must think they have a pretty good credit rating. But you notice how what they didn't say is they didn't say that they had low amounts of debt. They're just saying they have low cost of debt. And then they're going to say over here, they're going to return those returns to the shareholder and create return on equity investment. Very, very interesting stuff. So this is where we kind of have fun with this. Okay. And then last but not least, we'll get into sustainability. And I have to tell you that sustainability, the folks at Vail actually had a slide on diversity. And one of the things I do when I teach a class, and I always have them do a group project, is show me a picture of who's on the board of directors. And actually, when I Googled who's on the board of directors of Vail, it looked fairly diverse, right? And so they had a slide about their progress. And you know what? I think that the progress is being made in terms of diversity. Now the question is that is the market going to place greater amounts of value on that? And my thought is they could, because skiers, and you need to tap into the entire market. And this is definitely, I bet you if you took a poll of the people that walked into a ski resort, it wouldn't be totally diverse, right? That's my guess. Yeah, I might be wrong. But what we need to do is we need to understand that the business has to be developed, and there's a lot of people that should be skiing that maybe aren't yet. Okay, but here's the story with the sustainability, with the green stuff. I would just say to you, like it would appear to me that a ski resort should be highly environmentally conscious. And I'm looking here with these ambitious goals. Now, when a firm puts ambitious goals into its annual report, for me, you know what that tells me? That tells me that if they miss the ambitious goals, they're going to tell the investors, well, we did say they were ambitious and we didn't hit them. So even though we didn't hit them, it's better than setting low grade goals and hitting the low grade goals. There's something about that I tell my own kids. Hey, you want to be in a class and you don't get it and you get a C, that's not good. You want an A in a class, you don't get it and you get a B, that still not great, but it's better than nothing. But look what they're doing here. Now, a lot of this stuff, I would tell you that I don't know what it is. And again, I'm not sitting here listening to the audio of their presentation here. But commitment to zero net operating footprint. Commitment to zero net operating footprint by 2030. Zero net emissions. Net. Net means your emissions minus your purchase of credits not to emit. And by the way, there's a huge market in that. I can buy pollution credits to drive that to zero. Zero waste to landfill. So what are they going to do with the zero waste? What are they going to do? They're going to burn it. Okay, they're not going to put it in a landfill. Maybe they're going to have some kind of like pressure thing. They're going to make it little square blocks and they're going to put it on a barge and send it over to China so Chinese people can dump it in the ocean. So I don't know what that means. Zero net operating impact on forests and habitat. So net, that means they're going to cut down forests to build ski resorts and they're going to plant little trees to replace them. That sounds pretty good. Now let's look at the full year 20 highlights. Now this is where, and seriously guys, what we're trying to do is share perspective on real life. The fact of the matter is 21% progress towards 15% energy efficiency saving goal. Now I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking to myself, okay, they must have a goal of becoming 15% more energy efficient. I don't know what that means. Does that mean reducing your energy or what is efficiency? But they have a goal of 15% and they're 21% along the way. So that means they're 80% still open to achieve this 50% reduction. And it's like, guys, you have to, like, listen, I'm not the sharpest bulb or the brightest bulb in the cabinet over there. Tell me what this means. Okay, you're trying to spin something to try to make it sound like you're environmentally conscious. And at some point in time, as I said before, that this seems to be a great marketing tool because everybody wants to hear how sustainable and how environmentally conscious your firm is. But my thought is that, hey, Vail could be the same guys that are telling you how they're going to love the beavers and the mountain lions and the bears, and then they're out there with big chainsaws cutting down the woods and selling the lumber for people to burn in their fireplaces in the cabins that they rent from Vail. Executed wind farm virtual power purchase, once operation for a full year, will address 90% of the North American electricity emissions. I'm not certain what that means. Does that mean it's gonna make 90% of the electricity consumed by the Vail group? No, it's just emissions. So they must have some other type of electricity where they don't have emissions. Okay, like solar or whatever. Hopefully they do. But here's the scoop, guys. This sounds all good, but I do believe that sometime, perhaps in December, January, February, that the state of Texas, because they're so big in wind farms now, they got shut down. And what caused that to happen? There was a breakage in the grid. There was high winds that ripped down the windmills, whatever. I don't know how I'm going to like this. They're going to do wind farm virtual power purchase, which means that they actually probably went to Texas and bought the power off that company and said, now that power we're using, we just paid for it through this Texas facility, and therefore we're going to say that that was ours. 50% waste diversion. Don't know what that is. 100% aggregate forest impact addressed for all resort. So, guys, here's the story. I would look at this and I would say, gain perspective. Understand that these firms are trying to BS you. And again, I'm not coming down on Vail. I'm talking about every firm is trying to write the right thing and make sure that investors believe that they're doing the right thing. And I'm not in a position to say that they're not doing the right thing, but I would tell you that I'm looking at 5 bullet points and 3 hash marks. And to be honest with you, I probably understand 2 of them. And I would say that while I'm not a genius, I kind of know what this stuff is about. And it's like you can't produce this kind of stuff and honestly stand behind it and say we expect the investors to understand what this stuff means. This is absolutely out of control. So again, what we're trying to do for you is to make sure you don't go into a battle with unarmed. You, when you're looking at something like this last page, should be able to say, guys, what on God's earth do you mean? And you can use a strategy from a 1970s TV show that I never watched, but in psychology now, it's a part of psychology, which is a Columbo. You can do a Columbo, which is ask questions by saying, I just want to understand this a little bit more. Come across as being interested, not ignorant. So, listen, can you help me explain in my mind what it is when you're saying I'm 21% towards a 15% energy goal? You're using 2 percentages in the same sentence. And I remember statistics, a percent of a percent is a percent. And maybe I just don't understand it. Sir, can you tell me what I should be taking from this? What are you really doing? And this is how you can add value to your own corporation, your own insights, your own interview process. And at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff is just like, I'm not going to say it's fantasy land, but it's written for a purpose. And the purpose is actually to have the investor not want to sell their shares of stock because they believe the underperformance is something that is the fault of the firm. The underperformance might be a function of these systemic events that the firm has no control over, but yet the firm is doing everything it can do to be successful. And by the way, in today's marketplace, you can probably look at the shares of stock and you could say, well, this year 60% of the shares of all publicly traded firms went up in value. Okay. And while we're even talking about that, hopefully I can keep my mouth going here a little bit so I can actually do Google here. And I'm gonna type in here percentage of publicly traded firms that had stock price increases in 2020. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, let's look. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. Okay. As you can see, I'm nutty, but I do really like to think about finance. Okay. So I'm just I don't know that we have any. Okay, so they put in a package of value. This is through November. So the market was up 13%. Now, what it doesn't do is it doesn't give us, I haven't seen Yeah. Okay. So remember, guys, when you join us at bullyfinance.com, what we're going to do is we're going to have open sessions relating to these modules and Manny and myself's vetting sessions. And so I would hope that you can come in and ask these types of questions and say, hey, look, are you giving us BS or not? And to be honest with you, I really love it. Now, right now, I can't find it right off the top, so it's not something I may have Googled something a little bit wrong. Uh, Tech companies, 60 stock market facts. Okay, let's look here. You guys are saying, what the hell's the guy doing? This is actually pretty good. Oh boy. So there's a lot of good stats, but there's nothing that I can just put my hand on. But guys, listen, here's the story. Never go into a battle with unarmed. Come to the table with some thought about what it is that you're looking at. And even if you're saying to yourself, listen, I spent 26 minutes minus 2 or 3 minutes that Pete was looking for the share price increases, it's not a waste of time. It's talking about business and it's trying to, make sure that you understand what's going on. And this is the stuff that you're not actually getting through your professors because your professors don't know this. They don't live this life. So if this is accounting or if this is corporate finance, they're not living this. And we live this stuff every day at work. And at the end of the day, we're kind of tracing things that we like to look at, ways to look at balance sheets, ways to look at the financials, ways to look at we don't do the DuPont methodology every day, but all the core points are right there. Every quarter I have to write up a review. Hey, here's basically things that impact the profit margin of company XYZ. So this is all very important. Okay, guys. So listen, see us at bullyfinance.com. We'll put some of these lectures out there, put some of the PowerPoint decks out there. We'll put some directions as to when we're going to kick off our, and it will be in May, and I'm thinking it's going to be about 2 weeks from now. Come check us out. And, make sure if you like what you see on YouTube, click that subscribe button, and we'll see you around. Thanks, guys. Bye.